and welcome to this week's Shed Adventure. And what are we going to talk about this week? Well, if you were listening to the episode last week on finishing the longbow, I decided that rather than using all my lovely Sheffield steel super sharp tools, we'd go back to the Dark Ages, to the land of the ancient Neolithic man, and we'd see if we can make ourselves some tools. We'd do some flint knapping. Now, what I know about flint knapping, you could write on the back of a postage stamp. So this is really going to be about us learning. But we're not silly people. So let's think about back in the day, about what tools these people would have. So I had a quick walk around the garden, walk around the shed in Neolithic Stone Age man mode, and came up with antler as a digging tool, and that's pretty strong, I'm assuming, in comparison to what else we got. Wood, bone, well, that's a form of bone, so we can use some antler for some flint knapping, I would think. Stones, are these harder than flint? Could we use these to strike our flints? These have come from the seaside. Pebbles, be available to Neolithic man? Don't know, we'll find out. Other than that, I looked at what a modern chap who plays with these things would have. And the trouble is, they're all metal. He'd have a nice steel spike or a brass spike stuck in a handle that he'd use for the fine work. And their main tool seems to be like a little heavy cudgel. A lot of it seems to be wrapped with brass or bronze on the end, and they smack it with that. Well, clearly we're talking about before the Steel Age, the Bronze Age, and the Brass Age, if there ever such was a thing. Obviously, we'd have some bone. We saw last week or a week before my jawbone from a seal, so they would have had something. So maybe we can use a tooth, or maybe we can even use the bone to try and make some tools with. So I'm going to go off, and got a bucket, got some gloves, farmer's field. Let's go and find some flint and just see what we can do, and see if we can make some useful tools that I can finish shaping my bow with. All right, I'll see you out there on the ground. So here we are back outside Shed HQ. We need to do a bit of health and safety, I suppose, before we get too many complaints. So I'm going to put a bit of the old cut gloves on, and I am going to put a pair of safety glasses on, because we might be making a few big chunks of flint. So let me redirect you down here a bit. There we go. So what they recommend when we're doing this is that you put a nice piece of leather over your leg. We haven't got a nice piece of leather, so I'll put a nice little plank of wood. And these are some of the flints we've got. Now, I'm going to use this one because I can hold it like that, and it looks like a bit of a hammer. I'm going to take this one, and I'm just going to give it a bit of a smack, I think, and see what we can do. Now that's a bit. So that's interesting. Your Neolithic man, the sharpest thing you've got is a sharp piece of wood maybe, and just by quickly smacking a couple of pieces of flint together with no skill and no effort, that's interesting. I've actually made an edge on that. Just watch this. that could carve, I would think, this piece of wood. It would take some time. But yeah, I'm certainly cutting wood with that edge. Let's carry on seeing what we can flake off here. What would be really nice is if I can get a lump off that I can try and shape into an arrowhead. That would be the icing on the cake. Let's have a look at what else we've got here. Maybe I can get a better split of something a bit smaller. Ooh, all sorts come off there. There's some bits. A bit down there as well. Let's have a look at those two. Crikey. Well, that there, if I could get something like that a bit bigger down here, I think I could start making that into an arrowhead. I mean, these are sharp. These are sharp. Given the age we're working in, put my glove back on. If you were skinning a rabbit just now, and you needed to slice away at its flesh, I could genuinely see me doing that with a sliver of wood. Crikey, look at that. Oh, look at that. Well, that I could definitely use. A slither like that I could definitely use to finish off my longbow with. So I think we're getting to the sort of tools, maybe bigger so you can get your hand around it, that Neolithic man would be using to make his longbow. Can you see? That is actually cutting the wood there. So quite literally the sharpest tool in the box you're going to have at that time. It fits better. Look at that. Well, I couldn't do better with that spoke shave that you've probably seen me using. I'll go and get it out maybe in a minute and you can do a comparison. But that is as good as a spoke shave. I'm getting the idea now. So there we are. With no skill level, zero skill, no practice, if you'd been doing this for hundreds and thousands of years, and you'd been taught by your ancestors, you would clearly know what you were doing, and you would be an absolute expert. But look, that's what a Neolithic flint tool has done. So I'll be good to my word, and I'll cut some more of these tools up, and I will be using these to finish off the rest of that longbow, so we can at least prove to ourselves how the ancients would have done it. They would have used tools like this. Now, Obviously, flint knapping is taking these and making them into axes, daggers, arrowheads, and with no idea how to do it, I can now start to see. Yes, I've got my tools with me. No, I left them inside. I can now see how we could start try and shape these by nibbling away. Like if anyone's ever laid tiles and you haven't had a good tile cutter, but you've just used a pair of pliers and you've nibbled away to get the shape you want. I could see how I could tap away with this, with that piece of antler, and start shaping myself out an arrow. So rather than bore you with me tapping away, let me go and do some experimenting, quite literally hone my skills, and next week I'll come back and show you a little bit more professionally what I've managed to do and what I've managed to learn about flint knapping. But my confidence that we can create a tool has just gone through the roof, because that is a beautiful piece of wood shaving. Yeah, these are, if you could just feel it, it's quite scary. These are proper sharp tools. I don't think I've got a piece of rope I could cut. I haven't. Okay, well, that's interesting. So a short shed adventure, but I think it will lead onto other things. So thank you for joining me. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week, and I'll show you what we've achieved and how the English longbow is getting on. Have a lovely weekend, everyone. Bye bye.